So, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning, and you are very welcome to this information session for the Music Capital Scheme Piano Award. My name is Sarah Ledwidge, and I'm the Music Capital Scheme Manager at Music Network. This award was piloted in 2024, and we're delighted to be currently accepting applications for its second round. Just to let you know, this session is being recorded today and will be available to view afterwards via our website and social media channels. So just to tell you a little bit about the format for today, I'm just really going to give an overview of the award. I'm going to talk about the scheme itself, the application and the assessment process, and the conditions of the award. My colleague Jamie is here. He has put the guidelines into the chat for you. If you would like at any point to refer to them, they are forming the basis of what I'm talking about today. And if you're having any technical difficulties or anything like that, do drop Jamie a message as well. If you have any questions, do type them into the Q&A box if they are quite general questions to do with anything that I'm talking about here today. And I'm sure that people also have very specific questions relating to your own venue, your own organization, and your own any pianos you own or are planning to buy. So for those very specific questions, we do suggest that you get in touch with us directly, and I'll be sharing my details at the end of the presentation. It's a much more efficient way to deal with those queries. So just to get us underway here, the Music Capital Scheme is managed by Music Network and is funded by the Department of Culture, Communications and Sport. So the Music Capital Scheme Piano Award supports the purchase or refurbishment of concert standard grand pianos. It's aimed at arts venues and music presenters who are programming in a dedicated performance space. And applications may be submitted in partnership with a local authority, but also there may be other partnerships that you have in mind, and this has come up already. So if you have a different type of partnership in mind that works for you in your area, do get in touch with us and chat to us about it. We're happy to hear about your very specific scenarios. So who can apply to this award? Organizations that provide a year-round high-quality music program promoting excellence in music performance, organizations that support the work of professional musicians. This might be through masterclass series, through residencies, through development training, a number of ways you might be supporting professional musicians. And organizations that have a strong track record in audience and community engagement. And who can't apply, individuals cannot apply to the Piano Award. Total funding available for this round of the Piano Award is €300,000. What you can apply for, the grand pianos in question may be new or second-hand. So applicants may apply for up to 75% of the purchase cost of a grand piano, or up to 70% of refurbishment cost of an existing instrument. If the refurbishment cost is €15,000 or below, that percentage of support will reduce from 70 to 50%. And I also wanted to mention here that if you're planning to buy a second-hand piano, which will then need some work to bring it up to concert standard, you may apply for the refurbishment costs of that instrument in addition to the purchase cost. And what you can't apply for is a minor repair work or tuning alone. Those are not eligible under this award. Now, what we mean by concert standard grand pianos, we mean quality grand pianos such as Yamaha, Steinway, Kawai, or similar makes, which are of a suitable size, power, and volume for the space that they will be played in. And in the case of a proposed purchase, we strongly advise applicants to take advice from a suitably qualified piano technician when you're preparing your application, just to confirm that the selected piano size and specifications are appropriate for the performance space. The Music Network is committed to equity and inclusion and welcomes applications from arts venues and music presenters within culturally diverse communities. We encourage prospective applicants with disabilities or access requirements who wish to submit an application on behalf of their venue or organisation to make contact with us as early as possible so that every effort can be made to provide reasonable accommodation. So applicants to this award must be based in the Republic of Ireland, must not currently have a concert standard grand piano in performance condition in situ, must be managed at a professional level, must uphold best practice in relation to their governance and operations, and must demonstrate that they provide all of the following: concert programming of the highest professional standard, a year-round music program for audiences, support for professional musicians in their work, as we already discussed, and they must have a strong track record of engagement with their local community. So, how to apply? Initially, you will complete an online application form, that is stage one. So you go to Music Network's website and submit your application by 2 p.m. on Thursday, the 2nd of April 2026. There will then be shortlisting of applicants, and you'll be notified by email during April if you've been shortlisted. And at that point, you move on to stage two, which is the online interviews for shortlisted applicants. This is an online interview with a panel to discuss in more detail aspects of your proposal and your plans. Just a word on ineligible applications. So your application will be deemed ineligible if it's received after the deadline, which is 2 p.m. Thursday, the 2nd of April. We can't accept any late applications, and we do encourage you actually to submit ahead of that date, because if you did have a technical problem on the day of the submission, it's difficult for us to help you at that point. So yeah, we do encourage that you allow plenty of time. If your application is missing requested information or materials, it will be deemed ineligible. And if your application or the organisation does not comply with the award conditions, and I'm going to have a look at the award conditions shortly. So looking now at the application process itself, you'll visit our website, you'll find the page in the What's On section, the Music Network Piano Award. You can view and download the guidelines for the award there. And then you go on to create an account on the application portal. And you can fill in the online application form in stages, and save it as you go along. And that includes uploading materials. If you want to upload some support materials, you can save that draft. Again, submit by the 2 p.m. on the 2nd of April. When you submit, you will receive an automated confirmation email almost immediately. If you do not receive that email, do get in touch with us straight away. It's possible that your application has not been successfully submitted. And do check your junk folders in case the confirmation email has gone there. It's worth actually checking your junk folder regularly after you've put in the application as well, in case there's any communication from us through the portal. It can sometimes be filtered in some people's junk folders. And all applicants will be notified of the stage one results during April 2026. So if you are shortlisted on the basis of your written application, you would be invited to attend an online interview to discuss your application. And this is an opportunity to elaborate on the plans you've outlined in your application. Following those online interviews, there'll be further shortlisting. And shortlisted interviewees must then facilitate a site visit by the technical advisor to the scheme, who will come and view the performance space and, for example, the storage space, and may make some suggestions. So it's possible that you may be asked then to submit a revised proposal based on feedback from the technical advisor. If there are any large changes involved in that, it's possible that a second interview may be held if needed. And following that, then the panel will make the final funding decisions. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the application form and what's involved in filling it in. Section 1 is fairly straightforward. It's general information where you'll give contact information for a primary and secondary contact in the organisation, and you'll give the details of the location of the venue and the performance space in question. Very straightforward. Section 2 then is on your organisation's governance. So you'll be asked here how your organisation is funded, what public funding you've received, details of any partnership through which you're applying. And as I said, do get in touch if you want to discuss with us a potential partner application. You'll be asked for details of any pianos that you already own that are already in situ. You'll be asked to confirm that your organisation upholds best practice in relation to governance. You'll be asked to confirm that you have a bank account in the name of the organisation and that tax clearance details in the name of the organisation can be provided if required. Then Section 3 deals with your organisation's activities. So you're asked to give a history of the organisation and talk about the range of musical activities that you programme, your audience levels, your engagement with your local community, your activities across all genres. And you have the chance to upload some optional supporting documentation which highlights key elements of your music programme. And you're asked to give an overview of the music programme for the past 2 years and the next 2 years. So that section is quite a substantial section of the form. And 4 deals with your proposed purchase or refurbishment. So depending on what option you click, the form will branch whether you're making a purchase or a refurbishment. As I mentioned before, if you are planning to purchase a second-hand piano that then needs also refurbishment, you should initially select the purchase option on the form. So you are asked in Section 4 to outline the cost of the instrument or the repairs, to explain how you will fund your contribution and your plans around the purchase procedure. You're asked about the impact that the piano will have on your future programming and your audience and community engagement levels. So it's an important opportunity for you to describe the difference that the piano would make. You're asked also to describe where the piano will be housed, such as the building, the room conditions, etc., and outline your plans for maintenance and tuning, that sort of thing. And then Section 5 is an optional research section where you can give us your very valuable feedback. It doesn't have any bearing on the results of your application, but we very much value your feedback, of course. And then at the end of the form, you agree with the terms of use and you click either save a draft or apply, depending on what you're doing. And I've got a screenshot of that to show you in a minute. So here's just an example of the types of questions that you see on the form. So you have these radio buttons where, depending on what you select, the form will branch. So you select whether you're the sole applicant or applying in partnership. And if you were to click partnership there, you'd get a branch to explain the nature of the partnership. And then, for example, there 2.2, has your organisation received public funding? If you select yes, you'll get the 2.2a branch to go into more detail about the funding you've received, particularly relating to instrument purchase or maintenance. And then here is an example of where you can upload some supporting materials. So you click on the choose file button and it tells you underneath what types of document you can upload there. One thing you can't upload is MP4s. The platform can't take it. So if you want, we'd be delighted if you wanted to share video. What you just do is share the link within a document to where the video is housed online. You can't upload a video file directly here. You can upload an MP3 if you want to do that. And then you'll see there underneath You agree with the terms of use, and then you're either going to save draft on the left or apply on the right. It's very tempting to hit the red one. But once you do hit apply, you can't access your form anymore. Now, look, if you do hit apply by mistake too early, just get in touch and tell us you want to disregard, that submission and submit again. That's no problem. But just to point out, once you've hit apply, you actually can't access the application anymore. So moving on here to talk a little bit about the assessment process. So there are 4 selection criteria: track record in music programming and audience engagement, your future programming plans, including concert programs, support of professional musicians, and audience and community engagement, your demonstrated need for support from this scheme. So that's why you will be outlining the impact that the piano will have on the scheme and the suitability of the piano for your program and your space. And then the feasibility of the proposal. So feasibility considerations include your ability to deliver on future programming plans outlined, your ability to source the required funding to fund your portion, and to comply with public procurement requirements, which we'll talk about in a minute, and also to take appropriate care of the piano, such as its housing, ongoing maintenance and tuning. So it's important to consider all 4 of those selection criteria when you're preparing your application, because all 4 will be taken into account by the assessment panel. So a few conditions of the award here to talk about. So awardees must fund a minimum of 25% of a purchase cost, or 30 or 50% of a refurbishment cost, depending on the total cost there. If you're receiving a discount from a supplier, you must apply this discount to the total cost before you go about calculating any percentages for yourself. So the total cost of the instrument includes any discount from the supplier. Awardees must abide by public procurement guidelines when sourcing a piano or a refurbishment service. Most organizations and venues will be familiar with public procurement guidelines, but basically, depending on the total cost, you will either need to seek multiple quotations for the purchase or the work, or you will need to undertake a tender process, depending on the final cost, before you can make any drawdown on the award. Awardees must provide bank account details in the name of the organization to draw down the award. Tax clearance details may also be required, and probably will, if it's when the purchase is over €10,000. Awardees must provide a copy of related receipts for the purchase or refurbishment within 6 months of drawing down the award. In the event of an underspend, the award you've got can only fund the prescribed percentage of the total cost. So if a refund is due to Music Network, you will make that depending on your final cost, and that would go into the future rounds of the Music Capital Scheme. And you will sign a declaration form. There'll be 2 members of your organisation will sign a declaration form confirming that the awardee accepts all award conditions and will uphold best practice in relation to governance and operations. So the final conditions, awardees must operate a clear policy for use of the piano, including making adequate provision for its housing, insurance, care, maintenance and repair. It's crucial that you do have a comprehensive plan for this and that you clearly outline these plans in your application. For example, working with a qualified piano technician and your plans for tuning, etc. You must acknowledge the support of Music Network and the Department of Culture, Communications and Sport in publicity material, and we do provide you with the tools for that. You must provide annual reports on the use of the instrument for 5 years following the award. You must accommodate Music Network site visits during the assessment process and or subsequent to an award being made. Of course, any such visit would be agreed and discussed in advance. Um, you agree not to sell or otherwise dispose of the instrument funded under this scheme, which may arise, for example, if an organisation ceased to exist. You would get in touch with Music Network and we would decide together an appropriate course of action, whether the piano would be transferred to another organisation or perhaps sold and the appropriate portion refunded to Music Network to be included in the Music Capital Scheme future funds. And awardees agree to be bound by the conditions of the award. So I'm coming to the end now of what I had to say today. Just to say, please do contact me directly by email or phone with any questions. My name is Sarah Ledridge, and my email is capitalscheme@musicnetwork.ie, and my phone number is 083 016 2718. And just a reminder again to submit well in advance of the deadline, which is 2 p.m. on Thursday, the 2nd of April 2026. And there's a reminder of where you can find the information in the application form. It's on the What's On section of the Music Network website, and go to Music Network Piano Award.